Good evening, and welcome back. What unfolded today during the Scott Bessent hearing was not just a tense back and forth, it was a revealing moment about how power, economics, and the Constitution collide in Washington, and why that collision matters to everyday Americans trying to make sense of the economy. If you're finding this kind of breakdown helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss our ongoing coverage and analysis of these hearings.
Mr. Bassett, let me, I'm just a plain, simple man, the average, everyday American is looking at this hearing today. So can you tell me first, does trade deficits constitute a national emergency?
The hollowing out of the U.S. manufacturing
No, just yes or no.
class.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
It's a national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits equals a national or creates
Persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable to me. Let me ask this question. Maybe they missed it. Who was the president and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? Are you one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States and it should be abided by?
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay. But do you know that a president has said he may or may not? He don't know? Let me ask this question. I couldn't believe my ears. Sunday, during NBC's Meet the Press, President Trump credited himself for the strong economy in 2024 when Joe Biden was president, but then he blamed President Biden for a weak economy in 2025 when he was president. Now, I'm not so sure how the American people puts that together. In 2024, strong economy, he tries to take the credit. In 2025, when he's the president, he blames Joe Biden. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it makes sense to most Americans. And I hope, Mr. Secretary, you're a businessman, it doesn't make sense to you either. It can't possibly make sense to you. Let me ask this question. If a government, say, look, Argentina, I remember when I came here, and Argentina kept failing to pay its debt. Not once or twice or 3 times. And we were all upset about it, and we said that they needed somebody needed to take over their government. Somebody should help the president of Argentina. If the United States didn't pay his debt or something like that, we'd be very upset about that if we couldn't pay our debt. I mean, that's one of our focuses. Is that not correct?
Sir, the United States will always meet its debt obligations.
Always. Well, let me ask you this. Donald Trump, the deal maker, and you didn't answer Ms. Velasquez's questions, no deals, although he said 3 weeks ago that there would be deals. But Donald Trump, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but 6 times failed to pay his debts and his business and went bankrupt. And you're going to call that a good business, man?
The gentleman's
I wouldn't
time has
invest in that
expired.
company.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentlewoman from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, the chair of our subcommittee on capital markets, is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will try to keep my...
The center of today's exchange was a deceptively simple question. Do trade deficits constitute a national emergency? Scott Bessent answered yes, calling persistent and prolonged trade deficits a national emergency. On its face, that sounds dramatic, but the law matters here because labeling something a national emergency gives the president extraordinary powers, including the authority to impose tariffs without direct approval from Congress. The law was originally designed for true emergencies, wars, disasters, imminent threats to national security. What the questioner pressed on was this: the United States has run trade deficits for more than 40 years under both Republican and Democratic presidents. If something has existed for 4 decades, can it honestly be called an emergency, or is that label being used as a legal shortcut? This is where the hearing quietly turns into a constitutional debate. The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to levy tariffs. Declaring a trade deficit an emergency effectively shifts that power to the White House. That is not an abstract argument. It determines who gets to decide how much more you pay for imported goods, cars, electronics, food, and construction materials. If this kind of context is useful to you, take a moment to subscribe. It helps us keep breaking these moments down beyond the sound bites. Then the exchange took a sharper turn, moving from economics to legitimacy and accountability. The congressman asked a basic but loaded question. Who has been president since January 20th, 2025? The answer? Donald J. Trump. Who was president in 2024? Joe Biden. What followed was telling. When Bessent referred to Biden as the one believes president, it opened the door to a deeper concern, whether people serving in the administration fully accept the outcome of the 2024 election and the authority of the Constitution itself. That is not a throwaway issue. Belief in elections is the foundation of economic stability. Markets function on trust that contracts are honored, laws are enforced, and power transitions peacefully. When election legitimacy is treated casually, it sends ripples far beyond politics and into investor confidence, global markets, and long-term economic planning. If you want more reporting that connects the dots like this, subscribe now so you stay informed as these hearings continue. The most striking moment came when the conversation turned to the economy itself. According to statements made on national television, President Trump credited himself for a strong economy in 2024, a year when he was not president, while blaming President Biden for economic weakness in 2025, a year when Trump was already back in office. That contradiction matters. Economic performance does not reset on Inauguration Day. Policies take time to work their way through supply chains, labor markets, and consumer spending. Inflation, interest rates, and job growth are shaped by decisions made months or even years earlier. When politicians claim credit for good outcomes they did not govern and deflect blame for outcomes occurring under their own leadership, it distorts public understanding. It turns economics into a political talking point instead of an honest assessment of cause and effect. For everyday Americans trying to plan their finances, buy homes, or keep small businesses afloat, clarity matters more than slogans. If you appreciate explanations that cut through the politics and focus on real impact, don't forget to subscribe. What today's hearing really exposed was not just disagreement over trade deficits, but a broader pattern, expanding executive power by redefining emergencies, blurring responsibility for economic outcomes, and sidestepping constitutional checks, all while Americans are struggling to understand why prices feel high and wages feel tight. This is why hearings like this matter, not because of the viral clips, but because they show how decisions made in these rooms shape what happens at grocery stores, gas pumps, and paychecks across the country. We'll continue to follow these developments closely and break them down in a way that respects your intelligence and your time. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next update, and stay with us for more clear, grounded reporting on the decisions that affect your life.